Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Redshirt Down, and this is the series Trash to Treasure, where I show you just how easy and cheap it can be to play the best format in Magic. And for one of you, that's especially true. I'm planning on giving this cube away for free to one of my viewers living in North America. In the future, I'd like to open it up worldwide, but right now the cost is still just too high. All you have to do is subscribe and leave a comment on any of the videos in the series. I'll be selecting a random viewer a couple of weeks after the series wraps. Today, we're cutting down the green spells into something a bit more manageable. We'll be comparing similar cards and putting together our favorites to finish up the monocolored sections. First, I want to start with the mana dorks. They're essential to green's color identity and can be found in every cube. Llanowar Elves, a classic for a reason. Wall of Roots, not strictly a dork, but it'll give you a mana bonus when you need it. Plus, it's a wall that works well outside of its archetype, which is important. Elysian Caryatid, great 2-mana dork to find. Taps for any color, and can make extra mana if you're doing big green stompy things. This is way better than Urborg Elf, which can only tap for Sultai, and only one at that. Woe's Pathfinder, another creature that taps for Wooburg with upside, making the Urborg Elf look way worse by comparison. Sakelium Godspeaker is one of our sneaky rares, but it works a bit weirdly. It costs 3 mana, and can't even reliably generate mana on its own. In Magical Christmas Land, this will get you way ahead though. Finally, Rift Sower, a 3-mana dork. Even purchasing it off layaway doesn't help it enough, so it's cut. Urborg Elf is the worst version of either of these two, so it's an obvious cut. The Godspeaker needs just too much and does too little otherwise. A cool Alara rare, but not for us. These 4 look like our dork package for now. I think this is a strong base to build off of. Now for the untappers. They're like shiny dorks, a little different and a little rarer. Quirion Ranger and Voyaging Satyr. For now, both will get added, but I really like the gameplay the Quirion Ranger can provide. Also, it has a pretty cool combo with Eudora, Grave Gardener. Tap the returned creature for green, bounce with Ranger, then play the creature with the mana that it made. Sounds like a pretty solid reason to keep both, at least for now. Lastly, the creatures that find lands. Viridian Emissary, Farhaven Elf, and 2 adventures, Beanstalk Giant and Beanstalk Worm. These top 2 get mana either when it enters or dies. But for the timing differences, you get vastly different bodies. I never want to cast a 3-mana 1/1, so we'll keep the Emissary. Of these Beanstalk creatures, the Giant is an all-around better card. The Adventure gets the mana out of your deck, whereas the Worm accelerates it from your hand. So even though the Worm is faster, I think I still like the Giant more. Lastly, we've got creatures that don't ramp, only fix your mana. Another uniquely green identity, so I'd like to include 1 or 2. Satyr Wayfinder and Loam Larva fetch the lands from the deck, as do Generous Ent and Crozen Tusker. Loam Larva will always hit lands, but Satyr Wayfinder interacts with the rest of the cube much better. So even though it's got a worse body, I'm going to keep it. And this is a great example of the power creep of creatures over the years. The Tree Folk cost 1 less, cycles for 2 less, and although the Tusker can get any basic, you would never be happy casting the creature side. A great card in its day, it's time to retire the big guy. On to the naturalized creatures. These fill an important role in the environment, but we're only going to want a couple. Elvish Scrapper and Druid Lyreist are 2 halves of a whole spell. Both 1-mana 1/1s that destroy one of the 2 types green is proficient at. I don't like having to choose during cube construction, so let's keep going. Outland Liberator, you're nearly perfect. I love the 2-mana bodies that can destroy both. However, I'd rather not introduce the day-night mechanic to the cube for a single card, as it's really a pain to track. Sylviok Replica, it's just too expensive. You need to pay a total of 4 mana to get rid of something, not worth it in the slightest. Lastly, Acidic Slime, the classic 5 mana 2/2 that can also target lands. We won't need that ability in the cube as shipped, but it's up to you if you'd like to have some juicy targets in the mana base, so we'll keep that, and the Liberator. Now to decide if we need artifact or enchantment removal enough for another slot. I think that, despite the cube having less enchantment removal, it also has less threatening enchantments. So we'll keep the Scrapper. Next up, the green walls. We've already kept one, so let's see what else the color can contribute to the Defender deck. And thanks to Scion Sword 5, who commented last week that they'd like to play the deck as a treat in the environment. At 1, we have Portcullis Vine, a wall payoff, and Traproot Kami, a much better wall of wood. At 2, we have Archer's Parapet, another way to close the game, Thallid Shell Dweller, which makes bodies, Bamboo Grove Archer, which is an excellent card all by itself, and Wall of Tanglecord, an artifact wall that can block flyers. And at 3, we've got Mindbender Spores, a reserved list card that comes with the rules baggage of the time. It basically gives the creature it blocks 4 stun counters. Even at that, the body is just awful, so I'm going to cut it. I like both of these at 1. They give the decks way to survive to the mid-game and beyond. Bamboo Grove Archer is likely a card we'd be playing even without the theme. A very strong body that also has a removal spell stapled on. From the ones we've got left, these two offer a very similar role.
That is the sound of inevitability.
This one can directly drain your opponent, but this one gives you tokens that offer a lot more flexibility. For that reason, the Thallid is in, and these two are out. Now looking into the token makers, we'll analyze them both by themselves and in context for the rest of the cube. Starting off with Llanowar Mentor, a spell shaper that turns unwanted cards into Llanowar Elves. Pretty strong in this cube, I'd expect. Very similar to our Thallid buddy, Utopian Mycon. Pretty underwhelming unless we find a lot of Saproling generators. Ovaya Pashiri, Sage Lifecrafter, makes servos and constructs depending on the game state. Pretty costly, but it's also a legendary creature if that ends up mattering. Finally, Flaxen Intruder, an army in a can as its adventure. But even Papa, Mama, and Baby Bear can't save this card from how bad it feels casting it at 7 mana. At 3 mana, we've got 2 token makers, Brandywine Farmer and Peregrine Took. Both deal with food tokens, but the Fool of a Took has a better body and gives you some value off of your feasts. 4 mana brings us the Fierce Witch Stalker. It's not a bad body and comes with the food, so we'll keep it for now. Funnel Web Recluse is one of the 5 mana additions. The stats are too low for 5 mana, even if you can reliably get a clue token. The other is Herd Baloth, which plays directly into another synergy I'm expecting to run. Every time you put a counter on this, you'll get a 4/4 beastie. At 6 mana, we've got a Worse Generous Ent, and there's only so many tree folk one cube can handle. Finally, Verdaloth the Ancient, a legendary tree folk and sapling lord that can make as many tokens as you have mana. It touches just enough synergies that I'm interested for now. Now we'll take a look at our token synergies, cards that make the whole strategy worth it. Starting with Alloy Animist. This will let you animate any random artifact, token or otherwise, that you happen to pick up. Glimmerbairn, a modern-day ATOG that can surprise lethally your opponents. Not enough juice to be worth the squeeze, however. Cloakwood Swarmkeeper, another card that touches multiple archetypes. It benefits from the tokens and synergizes with counter strategies. Mushroom Watchdogs gives us another benefit to having food tokens. We probably don't have enough food support to make this card worth it. Agatha's Champion, an excellent pickup. It turns tokens into kill spells, and has great typing to boot. In much the same vein, Hamlet Glutton lets you trade in useless game pieces to slam down an above-rate threat. Siege Worm only somewhat fits in this category, as being a token deck will allow you to cast this monstrous maggot well ahead of schedule. It'll make it past this round of cuts, but being a French vanilla 7-drop is really holding this card back. Now we're getting into counter synergies. starting with Gnarlid Colony, which is kind of like a cross between Gnarlid Pack and Duskshell Crawler. While it can only kick itself, it also gives trample to any creatures with counters, just like this Tuskguard Captain. All play slightly differently, but Gnarlid Colony gives you all of the value while only using up one card slot. Next, the creatures that can buff themselves. Toadstool Admirer, a 1-mana card with Ward 2. Not only can it buff itself, but it's also an excellent target for any other buff, including auras and equipment. By contrast, Chance-Met Elves. A relic of Lord of the Rings Limited, scrying is usually a pretty blue mechanic. Bannerhide Cruciark is a fantastic modal spell. A 4-mana 4/4 isn't bad, but it also comes attached to a combat trick. Plus, late game there's value coming out of the yard too. Chaldea Strongarm has a nice ability where it can knock in for some surprise damage. Unless you put the counters on it, the body is pretty underwhelming. Ren's Run Hydra is the better Cruciark in most cases. For now both are going in, but if I only want one, the Hydra will be it. And Drend Linnorm is a 7-mana big. The spell side is just too slow, and leaving up 4 mana is an impossible ask. Saddleback Lagak is very fun to say, not so great to play. Wildwood Scourge is the ultimate counter payoff, getting bigger whenever one of his buddies do. Croconura does have Evolve, letting it grow a bunch, but the baseline as a 1-mana 1/3 is just too small. Now, onto the team buffs. When it comes to the proliferators, I'd like to keep both. The Pollenbright Druid doesn't just blank on an empty board, and the Urban Daggertooth has the chance to get hit multiple times. Of these two, they are both very similar, but I think Renata is slightly better here. Ivy Lane Denizen lets you target the token wherever you'd like, but Renata is a stronger creature at its base, plus it has an upgrade path for the future. Whoever ends up with this cube can cheaply slot in the Persist combo, with cards like Murderous Redcap or Putrid Goblin going infinite with any sacrifice outlet. Next, we've got some cards that'll give us card advantage for having counter carriers. Armorcraft Judge and Deepwood Denizen. The Denizen gives you consistent advantage, but the Armorcraft Judge will give you a one-time explosion in resources. For that reason, it's in. Lastly, some bodies to throw the counters on. Wilson is great for whatever buff synergies you throw at him. I wish it didn't have the background flavor text, but you're not going to find many better bears in all of Magic. Sir Farron is another great target. It can share its strength every combat, making it a clear threat to your opponent's life total. Plus, it's a legendary human knight, all types that matter to different decks. Here's our pool of 1/1 Death Touchers. Of these three, Gnarlwood Dryad is my favorite, again because it makes itself better as long as you're playing the game. Next, 2 1-drops that are difficult to interact with. But I think I like Hexproof over Shroud. It's useful for you to be able to target your own creatures. Last 1-drop, a 1-mana 2/2. Not nearly good enough. Starting with the 2-drops, Elvish Visionary. I used to love this card, but have since seen the error of my ways. Lucky Paper Radio is an excellent podcast, and they released an episode on Visionaries versus Goyfs, or basically creatures that are spells versus creatures that actually do things. It's linked down below. Those two are great podcast hosts and a large source of my design knowledge. Lothlorien Lookout is one of the Lord of the Rings scry enablers. However, it's a bit underwhelming. Leafcrown Dryad is interesting. As a bestow creature, it'll give you an aura in your deck that isn't stone dead on an empty board. And then Hamlet Captain is a human payoff card in a color that typically doesn't run many. Awakener Druid lets you animate a land, but unfortunately it's from before they started giving it haste. Keep track of which land just came into play when you play this guy. Joraga Visionary is just like its elvish cousin, but at least it's a body worth keeping around. Timeless Witness, one of the only regrowths we have access to. Imperiosaur, you can't ramp this guy out, but it's still a 4 mana 5/5. Penumbra Spider. Underwhelming, but sticky body. You've got to set the house on fire to get rid of this spider. Dundane Rangers has a landfall ability that'll trigger the ring. As we're thinking about including that mechanic, it's nice if all colors have access to it, and the body by itself isn't bad either. Finally at 4, Celeborn the Wise. It's got a lot of niche synergies, but as we have a real glut of great creatures at 4, he's not going to make it. 5 starts with the Bellowing Tangleworm, a card with green fear. The designers wanted to give fear to all colors, before they decided that was a bad idea and just scrapped the mechanic entirely. 2 more value generators, Keeper of Fables and Garruk's Pack Leader. Of the 2, I trust the ETB ability over the combat damage one, so even though the Keeper has a better body, it's going to be the one that's cut. Run from it. Hide from it. The reprint arrives all the same. Hooting Mandrills. You're 1 mana 4/4. Lastly at 6, Emerald Dragon. The body isn't great, but I like the Stifle ability. Not enough to save this from the toss pile. Lastly, our large green men. I pulled a bunch, but we're only going to want a couple. Even green knows when enough is enough. Starting with Thorn Elemental, my first love. I started with the 7th edition starter pack, and this guy came in the box, already foiled. I've even got one signed by RK Post in my binder. But at this point, it's been too power crept, even for a bulk cube. Sorry, buddy. Annoyed Altasaur. It's got some cool keywords and Cascade too. Sure. Brambleworm is your Palaka worm at home. Luckily, we opened the real deal. We don't need the imitation. Sifterworm enters and gives you some life, and the Brontoton attacks for 1,000,000. That's the one I want to keep. To finish up the creatures, Rust Goliath. We're going to evaluate this mostly at the 5 mana side, where it doesn't do nearly enough. There are cute ways to cheat the 10 mana 10/10 into play, but I think even then I'd rather have Palaka Worm. Now we're going to take a look at the non-creature permanents. Not really Green's strongest category, we'll evaluate them as they come. Starting with Unbridled Growth and Urban Utopia. Both only fix your mana, and both replace themselves too. As nice as it is to get the card back right away, I think I prefer having the card castable on the first turn of the game. Now on to the token makers. Squirrel Sanctuary, Fungal Plots, and Trail of Crumbs. Squirrel Sanctuary is a token factory, giving you 1 for every non-token creature you lose. I like it, not love it, but it's a good keep for now. Fungal Plots is a good way to repetitively make saplings, and even gives them a use. I don't know that we've got the density for this effect, but it's worth trying out. Likewise, Trail of Crumbs leads hard onto the food token synergies. Not sure we make enough food to justify running this card, but it's worth adding and cutting later if not. Next, we've got a couple of cards that care about counters. Implement of Ferocity, and Shortcut to Mushrooms. Implement of Ferocity is a one-time buff, and it'll give you the card back when you use it. The Shortcut gives you the effect once per turn, and even triggers on things like Squirrel Sanctuary. We'll add it, and cut the implement. Now we're looking at Nature's Embrace. Despite the excellent art, I don't want to cast either side, which is kinda necessary for a modal spell. Audacity, Rancor at Home, is a great aura because it gives your creature a valuable buff, but won't cost you the card to do so. And finally, Ranger's Longbow. With the way they design cards now, I'm really surprised this doesn't auto-equip. You have to pay 2 plus 3 mana for this to even do anything. Now on to the instance. We're going to start with our giant growths. Might of the Masses, Gaia's Might, Mirror and Metal, Strength in Numbers. Giant Growth is a classic. Part of the original boon cycle, it still holds its own in today's powerful environments. Might of the Masses and Strength in Numbers are very similar cards, but Strength also gives the creature trample. I only want one of this effect, so Strength in Numbers it is. We are not the cube for Gaia's Might, at least not yet. We haven't gone over the mana base, but it'll be filled with non-type duels, making Domain too hard to turn on. Mirror and Metal is a great card for us, with random tokens contributing to the Metalcraft threshold. Next, we'll look into the Hexproof Givers. These cards will save our creatures once from removal spells. As fun as Bombadil's song is, it costs twice as much as Snakeskin Veil. Stew the Conies is the single bite spell we opened at instant speed. It is 3 mana, which is a lot, but it also gives you a food token. Is it worth it? I don't know, but we'll give it a shot. Fog. Love Fog. Fog's great. Grapple with the Past is another regrowth, and this one gives you more ammunition. I'm expecting green to care about the graveyard, so in it goes. Return to Nature and Evolution Charm are both very modal spells. Return to Nature is the ultimate green sideboard card. It'll never be in your main, but it does everything you'd like for your tech, and Evolution Charm fixes, regrows, or throws something. I'll add in Return for now. And sure, Evolution Charm, get in there. Yet another card that loathes flyers, Fell the Pheasant. This card will absolutely kill anything with wings, and cooks it for dinner. Finishing up the cube, we've got our green sorceries. We only have a couple to look at, and luckily they fall mostly into easy to evaluate categories, starting with our Fights and Bites: Savage Punch, Bushwhack, Smell Fear, Prey Upon, Rabid Bite, and Ent's Fury. As mentioned in the last episode, Bushwhack is a Prey Upon with extra modality. Only need to keep one of these. Ent's Fury and Savage Punch are also very similar cards. Punch gives you a buff if you've already got a big creature, and Fury gives you the same buff as long as you're targeting the creature you're going to fight with. With these two, we've got our only bite spell in Rabbit Bite, and Smell Fear, a fight spell that proliferates. I think I'd like to keep both for now. Now we're going to look at our green cantrips: Ancient Stirrings, Many Partings, Commune with Nature, and Abundant Harvest. They all fill a fairly similar role, smoothing out your starting hand or guaranteeing you a play in the late game. Abundant Harvest is one of the best they've ever printed. It can't whiff. It'll always give you what you're looking for. Commune with Nature is pretty good, but it only fetches a creature. For that reason, it's out. Many Partings. I like this card a lot. It'll fix you for whatever color you're missing, plus it comes with a food token. And finally, Ancient Stirrings, Tron Powerhouse. I can't reasonably expect this to get anything other than a land. Hopefully we've got some good artifacts, but we'll have to find that out next week. Overrun, in a class by itself. Giving green away to finish the game since '97. Great in this cube, as we can expect board stalls to happen often enough that we should find some answers to them. Elven Farsight on the surface seems like a good card, but when you analyze it for a bit, it's a worse Commune with Nature, which we already cut. Giant Opportunity. This card's on the bubble. I thought there were a lot more food synergies than there actually are, so we're going to have to do some deep analysis to figure out if this card is worth it. Explore, Edge of Autumn, and Search for Tomorrow. Usually in Cube, you're not looking to ramp with sorceries, but I wouldn't mind adding one of these. Search for Tomorrow is slow, even when you're buying it on layaway. Explore replaces itself and lets you drop whatever land you've got in hand. And Edge of Autumn is a fine card, but I like Explore more. Revive the Shire is regrowth, plus food token. Shadowbeast Sighting. It's nice that it has flashback, but it's a bit slow for limited. Speaking of, I never want to pay 6 mana for 3 1/1s. Let's break down Return from the Wilds to see if it's worth it. It ramps and makes a human, ramps and makes a food, or it makes 2 tokens. Not bad, kind of riding the edge of playable. Finally, we have Courage in Crisis. It's a slow combat trick, too expensive for the effect. Taking a look at the piles, we've just removed almost half of the cards I had pulled aside. These are gone, and this is what's left. So that'll finish up green, and with it, our color pie. The cube is almost done. Next time, we're on to the multicolored, colorless, and lands. It may run a little long, but I think wrapping them all together will finish the series off nicely. Don't forget about the giveaway contest. All you have to do is leave me a comment in any video of this series, and I'll pull a winner randomly a few weeks after the series wraps. Why don't we flip the script this week? You ask me a question, and as long as it's not too personal, I'll answer it in a future video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.